2 weeks ago, we did open guard seated against a seated opponent, like a kneeling opponent. So we did like butterfly sweeps. This week, we're gonna do open guard supine. So these are all gonna be against a standing opponent and you're on your back. So we have like, you know, our open guard seated. We have our open guard once we've been broken down to our back. There's a bunch of different examples of these guards. So we're gonna go over some of them. We probably won't get through all of them, but we'll do Ashi and X guard today. And then we'll probably go into Delahivas next week. So generally speaking, when you have a standing opponent and you're seated, I don't wanna just concede to my back, because if I do, I'm kind of giving him some game. So typically I'm gonna stay seated until he breaks me down to my back. And then once he scoops my ankles or whatever and gets me down, now I gotta think about what I'm gonna do. So to go into like our Ashi, if he's walking into my seated guard, one way I can get there is with a Shin to Shin. This is usually the first way we teach to get to Ashi. So instead of waiting for him to scoop me, I'm just gonna scoot in and I'm gonna get my shin on his shin. My other leg is gonna come around, arm scoops, gable grip, and I hide my head. If I leave my head floating, he can grab my head and territory. I don't want that. So I'm gonna put my ear on his thigh. And I'm gonna just use this to get into a standard Ashi. The way we're gonna work is we're gonna start to roll to our shoulder. This leg kicks through, hip up and get our Ashi. Now, whenever I get into my Ashi, I gotta get him broken down to a hip, or I gotta get him going the other way. Usually I'm gonna try to break him to a hip first. The position of this leg is gonna determine usually which way is more successful. So I get in, I get to my Ashi. If that leg's away and I try to break him to a hip, he's probably just gonna step back. Exactly. So then I'm gonna reap this way. And my outside heel hook's there, across my legs. Get my outside heel hook from my outside Ashi. So you can do both sides. If his leg is closer to you, that's where we're just gonna drop him to a hip and we're gonna attack Ashi from a typical way. So we're here, he starts to really walk in and close the distance. Here, roll, post, Ashi, sit him down, right? We get to here, I can start to expose the heel, but if I want to expose the heel from just a traditional Ashi, instead of like dropping to my shoulder and digging for the heel, I'm gonna use my legs and my hips to expose the heel. So instead of turning and digging, I'm gonna steer him like this. That's gonna give me access to the heel. And then from here, depending on what he does is where I'm gonna go. Like if he kind of stays solid, I'll just grab a grip and start to finish. Most guys are gonna spiral. They're gonna continue to roll and I'll need to follow him and then do that same outside Ashi, outside heel hook. So 2 looks. He comes up, shin to shin, close the distance, hide my head, gable grip, get into my Ashi. Start to sit him down, he doesn't sit down, I go reap. Cross my legs. Once you're half turned back, when we get to this position, this foot's gonna be behind his hamstring, this foot. So as we get here, at this spot right here, I need to bring my knee to my face and punch through to get my outside Ashi. Anybody good, you're not gonna finish this heel hook. You're gonna start to crank and he's gonna strip that foot and he's gonna bump out and you're gonna lose the heel hook. So it's important when you're trying to finish here that you get to an outside Ashi where you have a closed wedge around his hip. Back heeling, scissoring my legs, and then I can go about my finish. So start with that, big thing, reaping, or the second look, if his foot's a little bit closer to you, and his foot, he walks in this way a little bit, we just hip in, drop him to a hip. You can control this leg with your secondary hand, and this is gonna be like your double trouble concept from here. And if you just want a straight punch through, you could punch this leg out and close. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but at least if you get here, now you have good control. Now you can just monkey grip the knee, pull it up, expose the heel, and just finish there. So start with that, and then we'll go into a standing opponent. You enter there, and maybe they're a little wiser on their defense. 1, 2.